and welcome to VistaTalks, interesting discussions with interesting people from all around the world. I'm your host for today, María Roa, and I am delighted to be joined by Alfonso González Bartolessis. Alfonso is a multifaceted professional who has developed his professional career as a translation manager, and university teacher. He has founded and co-founded several companies and currently works as a Senior Localization Manager in Germany for Sinch email. There, he has created the localization department for more than 9 languages and developed the current translation workflow. Alfonso is also TranslaStars CEO. TranslaStars is an online learning platform for language lovers with translation, localization, globalization, and interpreting courses. And oh my God, we have a lot to talk. So, Alfonso, you're very, very welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me here and for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here talking to you.
Well, I always like to ask our guests, how did you get started in the industry? Were you always interested in language, translation, localization?
Yeah, actually, yes. I always loved languages, culture, and history. I still do. And I was very lucky that my family could afford to send me back in the day, like 32 years ago, no internet at the time. And they could send me to study to the US. So that was like when I was 13. So yeah, that was like the spark that ignited everything. So that was even better for me because I had the opportunity to know more about the American culture that I liked from movies. And then I continued when I went back to Spain to watch more movies and more contents, to read books in English. So it's something that I have always liked. And then my father is an engineer, and he has also needed help with some documents to be translated into Spanish. And of course, I started with no knowledge about translation, but then I of course I learned, and then I got my degree and things like that. And everything led to the situation we have now, and to the position I have now.
Yeah, I actually think I kind of started the same way, because it was the same thing. My parents also, I was lucky enough that they sent me to the US. I think it was something common, well, not very common, but for the people who could, like, they were kind of like trying to send us off to the States, because it was the only way of learning English when we were kids, because it was not very common to study English when we were little. I mean, like you could, but it was really bad level at schools. Teachers were not really good at English, and we would learn really bad. So it was the only way of really learning English. So
yeah, absolutely. It's curious that you mention it, because I mean, 32 or 30 years ago, luckily the situation, at least in Spain, I see that it has changed for good. So
it changed for good, for sure. Yes.
Well, it couldn't change for worse.
Yeah, it couldn't go any worse. You're right. But yeah, we were lucky. We were some of the people who went abroad. I also mentioned that you have created a localization department from scratch for Sinch. How was that journey, and what was the driving force for Sinch email that made it wanted to start doing this?
Well, I was hired because, of course, there are many reasons why I was hired, and they wanted to have a good localization strategy. So one of the most basic ones will be brand awareness, brand recognition in our different target markets. So we needed coherent and consistent localized content, and that's when I came in. So we needed more content to be localized. We needed, again, a consistent brand and voice for these different markets, better quality, a higher speed. Like they will also wanted to see the return on investment, to lower the price, for example. To lower the price, I mean, as I'm sure you know, sometimes the companies that do not have any localization infrastructure, they ask for example, their developers to make things that they should not be doing, like copy pasting, because they don't have integrations with translation management systems, things like that. So in the end, where I brought the company was that structure and the ability to send the content that we need to translate, or not to send, to automate the job requests to a level, to a very good level. We can still do better, but yeah, I mean, we are in a good way to achieve like full automation. That is something I'm looking for achieving. And yeah.
So what happened in your first year of that localization journey? How did you choose which languages did you want to focus on, or how did you choose how to start and where to start? You were talking about translation management systems. I mean, was that something that you really wanted to focus on when you first started?
Yeah. Well, during that first year, I mean, at the beginning, it was quite hard because I was alone doing absolutely everything. So as you can imagine, I had to choose the tools. So we created business case. Yeah, we researched the best tools in the market in relation to the needs that we had. So I had to talk to every the main managers in every team to know their needs and how they were doing things. And then, then we started with that business case. We chose the translation management system we use. We started integrating tools, different tools, content management systems, I don't know, design systems, everything that we use. We also created, I say we, but it was only me at the beginning. But yeah,
It's a plural singular. It was only you.
Yeah, translation guidelines, brand and voice guidelines for the different markets. Yeah, so it was quite hard at the beginning. In any case, I was not the one who decided which markets we were going into, because we already were present in, let's say, 9 markets with 9 languages, but the translations, the quality of the translations was not good. And that's mainly why they hired me, because they were just simply sending translations to an agency, and nobody was revising what we got back. So as you can imagine, the results were not good. So we in the end, we have these 9 languages that we work with, and we focus on our 3 core languages, which are French, German, and Spanish. Everything comes from English, and that's what we do nowadays. When we try to enter a new market, what we do is a very in-depth research of the market from different teams. Of course, the localization team is involved, and we analyze the different opportunities, the risks, and then we present what could be the strategy to go to those markets. Once that is done, if we see there is a good opportunity for the company based on many metrics, we go to those markets. So, for example, the last 2 we entered were the Italian and the Brazilian Portuguese market in terms of languages. And yeah, and that was after a long research stage, just checking that everything made sense mainly from a financial perspective, of course.
Of course. What would you say were the main lessons you learned from your experience during all this journey?
Well, I will say that I'm learning on a continuous basis. So that's, I think I could mention many lessons maybe, but I think that the lesson is that you don't stop learning, and you shouldn't stop learning and applying or implementing solutions based on your failures, your achievements, or the feedback that you get. So that's what we are constantly doing at every level. So guidelines, translation management system, team, everything. So I would say that's the main lesson to implement the solutions based on those learnings.
Daily. Yeah, and I know you're a big expert in SEO marketing content, so I do not want to miss the opportunity to talk with you about it. SEO is a big opportunity to improve localization processes. Can you give us some tips and examples of what we should and shouldn't do?
I love SEO localization and SEA localization. What I see is that the market, or not the market, I believe there is no translation management system ready for SEO localization. So for truly SEO localization, because that requires integrating, for example, SEO systems, like just mentioning some brands like Ahrefs or SEMrush or ClearScope, and that's not aligned with our translation management system or CAT tools. So we can create content, but we cannot see yet how that, create content and we send it to be localized, but we cannot see how it will perform inside our own translation system. We cannot see how it will perform. So I think that's a disadvantage, because then you have to take that content outside. It's very complicated and it requires a lot of steps. So like a tip, more than a tip, I would love the industry to develop some integrations that help with that. And I also always give or use an example of for people who doesn't know much about SEO localization or what we mean by SEO localization. And I give the example that you can have a good translation that is not a good SEO localization. And I take it to my field, which is the email industry, and I talk about blacklists. Blacklists in English are those addresses that a system, an email system, collects and says these are not email addresses that you should be receiving emails from, or you should not be sending emails to. Of course, nowadays the word black list is not inclusive. It's not considered to be appropriate, and actually we are trying not to use it. And instead of blacklist, we use block list. So, but in any case, in many texts, you will have blacklist, and the translation, many times you see that our translators translate it by an inclusive term. For example, in Spanish, that could be lista de bloqueados instead of lista negra, which will be like the literal translation from list. And that's a good translation. The inclusive one, it's a good translation, but it's not an SEO localized translation or an SEO equivalent. Why? Because people are not looking for lista de bloqueados. They are looking for lista negra. So they are still looking for something different to what you are including. Of course, there are solutions to that, like Google is super smart, and if you include both terms, it's going to recognize both as being synonyms, and then of course search intent. There are many things inside the content, but that's a good example that I use to explain people the difference between having a good translation and having a good SEO localization. So yeah, in those cases you need to know very well what is going to perform well or to rank well, if your aim or if your goal is to rank well using SEO localization. So yeah, in the end, and going back to your question about tips, I think one of the most important things is to have a team or an agency that is specialized in SEO localization and knows what you are talking about when you ask them to optimize content for SEO, which is way difficult. So yeah, it's not just translating, and it's not just inserting some keywords in your text. So it goes beyond that.
Is it SEO localization big enough right now in order to find teams who will work and do that for you? Because there are many SEO professionals that you can hire in order to help you with that. But I mean, I don't think it's that easy to find someone who will help you only with SEO localization, right?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Actually, I think we need to train people in SEO localization. We need to upskill our teams. So we may have already very good translators, very good content creators, but they need to be upskilled in SEO and translators. They will be super grateful when they know more about SEO, because they will have the whole picture of what they are doing, and they will even have more ownership on their content, because they start realizing, okay, I have written this piece of content, or I have localized this piece of content, and now I'm going to see how it performs and why it performs well or it's not performing well. So yeah, I mean, training, in my opinion, it's vital, and I think it's something that it's really needed in the industry. I mean, we have a team of people and they had very few knowledge about SEO localization, or SEA localization. And what we did was to train them internally, because it's very, what you were saying, it's very difficult to find professionals who already have that knowledge.
Yeah, I saw in TranslaStars, there are some courses for that, right?
Yeah. I didn't want to make the plug, but if you ask
No,
me.
I made it because I was looking at it. No, I was looking at it because I think it's really interesting, and I think we really do need it. I mean,
No, of
you
course.
can make it. I mean, like this. I mean, we need to let our audience know where they can find the things they need. So I mean, this is the moment.
Thank you for mentioning it. Yeah, no, of course. We train TranslaStars. We train people to become skilled in SEO localization, and we have a really good course with Maria Scheibengraf, and she's great, and David Garcia, who are two of the best SEO localization experts in the world. So yeah, if anyone is listening, watching us, and would like to know more about SEO localization, I would recommend to take a look to the course, or to take courses on SEO to know a little bit more. There are many courses out there, free. There are many from Google. So yeah, there are a lot of opportunities to know more about.
That's great. Yeah, we need to learn. I mean,
yeah, absolutely, and to adapt.
That's the only way of upgrading ourselves and the work we do.
Yeah.
Okay. Any advice you would give to individuals just getting started in this industry? Anything you think they need to know?
Well, advice nowadays with all these things like ChatGPT and
oh yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, what I see is a lot of people getting scared, and what I will say is, well, I don't know if I am the proper person to give advice, but just being persistent and continue learning, because just going back to the example of SEO, Google is always changing how SEO works, so, or how you are going to rank in a search engine page, so results page, sorry. So yeah, I mean, it's something that you need to be continuously updating to be able to perform at a good level. And for those who are starting, for example, for translators, what I will tell them is not to downprice themselves. So please do not sell yourselves cheap. Do not email 100 companies the same day with the same email and the same CV. Yesterday, I was conducting a webinar on how to create a good CV for translators, and yeah, because we receive a lot of emails from people selling their services, and we are TranslaStars. It's not a translation agency, so it's I see. I mean, I have been there. I have done that. So I have also emailed 100 companies, 100 people. But if I take a look back, and if I can give some advices, first think very well who you would like to work with, or the company you would like to work with, and then prepare or customize your email, customize your CV to try to get the attention from that people and to work for them. Because the most important thing, I enjoy working, and I enjoy, working in what I do and what I am doing. So if you can get paid having fun, I mean, that's the best thing in the world, and I'm having fun and getting paid for it. So what else can I ask for?
Yeah, doing what you love is the best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you get paid for it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we just came to the end. This was fast. I mean, it was very enjoyable. Thank you for that. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience today?
Well, I would like to congratulate you on what you are doing, not talking,
Thank you.
doing with all the initiatives, like the forums, the podcasts, the prizes. I think you are doing a great job, and I think that's the way to do things, to create awareness in the industry and to invite people from the industry to keep on growing, and to recognize, to acknowledge what other people are doing. So yeah, I will do that, and then of course I will invite people to follow us, TranslaStars, if they want to learn something about translation, something else about translation, and of course to use Sinch email for all the email marketing campaigns and things like that.
Well, that's great. It was really great having you. Actually, I think we need to do another VistaTalks and talk a little bit more in depth about SEO and SEA, maybe after Gala, because I want all our audience to know that we will have Alfonso there also talking about SEO. I think it will be March 15th.
Yeah, you're right. March 15th. Yeah.
Okay, so if everyone who is going to the Gala event, please do not miss his presentation. I will be there too, for sure. That was the end of today's show with Alfonso González. Thank you, Alfonso, for being here with us.
Thank you, Maria, for having me.
Please make sure to tune in again to see or to listen to the next VistaTalks show, where we will be discussing more interesting topics with interesting people from all around the world.
Thank you. Ciao.